doing outreach to caregivers of older adults through workshops, conferences, and support groups, with a special interest in the spiritual and introspective and development of aging. So please, let's welcome Virginia Valenzuela. Hope you enjoy her presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. You want to hear me okay? We'll try it. Okay, it's so good to be in the Rio. We had an office a while back in Valley, and so I got a chance to meet some wonderful folks in this area. And a special shout out to the Western nurses, Dottie and Juliet, who are here. It's wonderful working with them, so thank you for being here. You know, we've heard our wonderful two previous speakers talk about Alzheimer's and dementia, and a couple of words that we've heard about caregivers, but my talk is about the caregivers. How many of you are caregivers? Do you know that there's only four kinds of people in the world? That's if you're currently a caregiver, if you've been a caregiver, you're going to be a caregiver, and guess what? You're going to need a caregiver. All of us at one point in our lives may need a caregiver. So, and that's a quote by Rosalind Carter. I think it's in one of the slides. But before I get into my talk, I'm going to ask you, I invite you to do something for me. Don't do it just now. I'm going to give you a few instructions and you can do it. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes in a minute, just a few seconds. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and think about one of those caregivers. Think about whether you've been a caregiver or currently a caregiver or will be one at some point. And what that must be like. So just relax, close your eyes. Don't fall asleep, okay? I'm going to wake you up. Just close your eyes for just a few minutes. And just imagine you're walking in the shoes of a caregiver. You're getting up this morning as a caregiver. Perhaps you've had to rustle your kids out of bed, make lunch, think about what your day is going to be like, rushing off to work or to this workshop. You're just busy, just getting everything done, not even thinking about what you're having for supper. Did you take out the meat to defrost before you do that? But while you're doing that, you're also a caregiver. So you're going to have to stop by, either at your house that someone lives with you, or stop by that person that you're caring for. Could be a spouse, could be a parent, could be a sibling, but someone you're caring for. You're going to have to stop by. So you stop by that house, and now you're opening the door. You put your hand on the doorknob. And when you do that, you don't know what's behind that door. You don't know overnight what you're going to find in that room when you open the door. And you're thinking, did they sleep last time? Did they take their meds? Did they eat? Will they even remember who I am? Will I have to take them to the doctor today? So what's going on? Think about that as you're rushing through your day. Okay, open your eyes. Can anyone relate to that? Anyone? Would anyone like to share just for a second what that's like for you? I heard Monica. Okay, Monica. What was that like for you?
It was very difficult to see somebody who was very functional before, very independent, be slowly more dependent on everything I could do for him. To sharing, like having to take them 3 meals a day, and having to rush back to work and coming during lunch to drop off lunch to find them sitting at the same place staring at breakfast. Didn't know what to do with it. So had to not physically feed them, but cut it up and encourage and come on, you gotta eat, kind of like we did with our kids, you know, and then have to go back to work and then go back and drop off dinner, and still now he's staring at lunch, you know. So we it was like, oh, lonely, how do you
Never ending.
yeah, never.
Anyone else can relate, can y'all relate to that? To what's going on in the life of the caregiver, and it's a 24/7. It's a 24/7.
With everything, not
It
just
is.
eating, I mean, man, it's everything, everything.
And that's the life of a caregiver. That is the life of a caregiver.
I think one of the hardest things that we faced was that my mother early on lost all track of what time it was, and even that it was daylight and nighttime. And so she would wake up in the middle of the night, get fully dressed, and then she would come into our bedroom screaming and yelling at us, saying, "You promised you would take me to what's that store? And you promised, and why aren't you up dressed? You need to get busy, you need, you know," in the middle of the night. And then then be awake and upset and her mad and yelling at me and everything. It was the lack of sleep became an issue for us.
Big. Lack of sleep for caregivers is tremendous.
Yeah.
I have a coworker who just had twin big girls. And he comes in to the office every morning and he has his sunglasses on. And I said, "Mike, how did it go?" Maybe 3 hours at the most. But I attribute that, it kind of correlates with being a caregiver for an older adult, because especially if they're wandering at night or they're getting up, or you have to deal with that. And as a caregiver, those are the kinds of things that you deal with every single day. Again, I'm with MNLR.org, a program of Morningside Ministries out of San Antonio. And one of the things we created MNLearn about 7 or 8 years ago with the idea that not everyone who was needing some type of help with some health issues, there weren't going to be enough nursing homes, weren't going to be enough caregivers around, trained caregivers to really care for them. So the online program for MNLearn was created exactly for that, to support and to train caregivers of older adults. And our focus is threefold. One primarily is for healthcare professionals, CNAs and others who are in a direct service. Another one, because we are a faith-based organization, we do pastoral caregiving. So you'll find on our website, you'll find prayers, you'll find meditation, you'll find all kinds of services for, we have an annual spirituality and aging conference with wonderful speakers. But the third and most important one, focus, is the family caregiver. And do you know why that is? Why the family caregiver? Because they're the ones with the least amount of training. They're the ones who are usually tapped on the shoulder and say, "Okay, you're the oldest, or you're the youngest, or mom loved you best, or maybe mom loved you least. So you're the one that is closest." So I was just talking to a caregiver just yesterday who said, "I've got 7 brothers and sisters, and they don't live too far. But guess who's the one who's taking care of mom, 95 years old?" She said she's in the nursing home, but yet I worry about her. I'm the one that's there to make sure she gets what she needs. Just because she's in a nursing home doesn't mean that I just let it go. She's there. She goes almost every other day to see her mom. She makes the appointments with the doctors, with the social workers, with everyone. When there's a problem, she's the one that's called. So again, the caregiver is the one that gets the brunt of it. And as we heard earlier, that being diagnosed with this disease, with any type of dementia or with Alzheimer's specifically, they can last a long time. So the road for a caregiver is a long road. So again, our videos are primarily focused on the family caregiver and with those issues. So who is a caregiver? Anyone who provides care and assistance to someone needing assistance with daily living activities. Anything from bathing to dressing to eating, as we just heard, anything that needs to do with transportation. And many times a caregiver needs to provide that money because, as we'll talk about a little later, the financial aspect of it is huge as well. There are many people who are living with their aging parents and who are caring for them. And like I mentioned before, this is a quote from former First Lady Rosalynn Carter about only 4 different types of people in the world. They're all caregivers. And you know, I don't know about you, but I've heard over and over about the aging population and the baby boomer whole tsunami coming on. We're all baby boomers, right? Well, again, as I mentioned earlier, there's just not going to be, the long-term care is huge for baby boomers coming on board. So again, there's just not going to be enough trained caregivers around to support the number of people who are going to need them. So again, the importance of training and education for caregivers. Family caregiving is again one of our big focuses. For many families in the midst of caregiving for an older person, there's a deep worry about the care, the quality of care, but again, the quality of life. I've heard that over and over again. You know, it's the quality of life. We all want quality of life. And families don't know who to call or where to go to get the right kind of help at the right time and the kind of help they can afford. So all those things come into the mix about how do we care for someone while taking care of ourselves. So families need the skills, the knowledge, and support in order to care for those loved ones. So are you a caregiver? There are more than 50 million people who provide care for a chronically ill or disabled aged family member. Or sometimes even a friend, sometimes even a neighbor. You'd be surprised. You know, one of the things that I found really interesting and that caregivers, especially family caregivers, don't self-identify. If you ask someone, are you a caregiver? When I asked that question earlier, not everybody raised their hand. But I bet if you think about it, how often do you check on a neighbor that may be alone? How often do you call somebody? I remember talking to this one lady while I was in Uvalde, and I said, are you a caregiver? She said, no, not really. She said, I go visit my mom, but she's fine. She's not bedridden, and she's not in a wheelchair or anything. So what do y'all do? She says, well, we sit in the evening and we have our little pan dulce and cafecito and we talk about things. And I said, okay, so if you weren't there, who would do that? And she said, oh, I don't know. I said, you are a caregiver. You are a caregiver. If you have a relative or a parent in a nursing home, does it mean you're no longer a caregiver? No, you're still a caregiver. If you don't live in the same city, but you call and you stop by, you arrange for the grass to be cut, you arrange the bills to be paid, guess what? You're a caregiver. There are so many people who are caregivers and don't realize it. So the typical family caregiver, and this is typical, is a 46-year-old woman. We talked about that earlier. The doctor talked about women being primarily caregivers, and they are. They're caring for a widowed mother who does not live with her. She is married and employed. Approximately 70% of family caregivers are women. But the statistics are also showing that there's a rise in male caregivers. My brother is the primary caregiver for my 92-year-old mother. Just last week he called me. She fell again. Mom is 92, and she's fine. I mean, cognitively she's fine. But she doesn't like to use a walker. That's for old people. You know, she doesn't like to use a walker. We have trouble getting her to use her cane. And when I take her to the store, she puts the cane in the basket and flies off with that. And you know how many times we've had to go back to Target or H-E-B or something to retrieve the cane, because she feels she doesn't need it. But her balance is off, and she tends to fall. So she's fallen many times. We were very fortunate that she hasn't broken a hip or anything major. She's broken her nose, she's fractured both arms, you know, but you think that would, you know, convince her that she needs to use a pain or walker. The doctors told her. It doesn't work. No, she knows better. So again, caregivers come in all ages, and sizes, and both male and female. And there are also 1.4 million children ages 8 to 18 who provide care for an adult relative. 72% are caring for a parent or grandparent. Fortunately, most of them, you know, are not the sole caregivers. But I've also done a little research to find out that there's even an organization that helps children who are often caregivers for their grandparents or their parents because they weren't doing well in school. So come to find out that they were the ones caring for their parents. And 30% of family caregivers caring for seniors are themselves 65 or older. And another 15% are between the ages of 45 to 54. Now, again, the finances, the economics of caregiving. In 2000, typical working family caregivers lost $109 per day, and of course that's gone up, in wages and health benefits due to the need to provide full-time care. And that's just that, the benefits and the financial. Think about someone who has to quit their job to be a full-time caregiver. And then the caregiving does end at some point. Then they're trying to get back into the workforce. They've lost those skills, that knowledge, you know, through all those years. So it's hard to just pick up and go right back to the job market. So again, many aspects of the economics of caregiving. Women who are family caregivers are 2.5 times more likely than non-caregivers to live in poverty, and 5 times more likely to receive SSI. The impact, this was a quote by former Vice President Al Gore, a health problem facing a loved one may be contained in the body of that one person, but it affects the entire family. As all of you well know, that when someone is ill and someone's having to take care of it, it affects the entire family. We think about or talk about often about the sandwich generation. It's very much often, especially with the age of the caregiver, many times they're not only caring for parents, but they're also caring for their children. And the sandwich generation, they're stuck right in the middle. They're having to deal with both aspects. So who gets the most attention? Is it the children? Is it their parents? So you're pulled and thus so much of the stress of caregiving. Family caregivers who provide care 36 or more hours weekly are more likely than non-caregivers to experience symptoms of depression or anxiety. And for spouses, the rate is 6 times higher. And for those caring for the parents, the rate is twice as high. So again, different rates for the different folks doing the caring. So how do you care for the caregivers? You know, we hear that all the time. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. So how do you do that? I mean, it's easier said than done, right? I say that to people all the time. They say, well, how? Give me specifics. So when people, one of the things is when people offer help, accept the offer and suggest specific things for them to do. So many times I say, yeah, well, they said they wanted to come over, but you know, I'm the only one that knows what mom likes to eat, or mom only, you know, likes me in the room, or whatever. You know what? If you weren't there, guess what? Somebody else is going to have to do it. So get used to the idea to have someone else come in and help you with tasks. It can be small things. Get away, just to get away for a little while. Go have your hair done. Go walk in the park. Go to the library. Even an hour will help refresh and revitalize you. Choose to take charge of your own life, and don't let your loved one's illness or disability always be the center. You know, we often think it's the person they're caring for. Usually, why do they last so long? Because you're taking such good care of them. But you're neglecting yourself. You're neglecting your health needs. You're neglecting going to the doctor. You're stressed because, you know, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. Because you're not taking care of yourself. Your whole attention, everything is on the person you're caring for. Grieve your losses and then allow yourself to dream new dreams. That's so important. You have to have a dream. You have to have those goals because caregiving will end at some point. So continue living those, continue dreaming those dreams. They will come true, but you've got to be able to be healthy enough. And there's a difference between caring and doing. Be open to technology. Like, you know, you don't have to watch TV all the time, doctor, but I do want you to watch the videos. New technology. There's new ways to use technology that will help you. That will, there's even a support group. We can talk about support group in a little bit. But if you don't have a physical support group, get online and get on a support group because no one understands unless you're another caregiver. Unless you've been a caregiver, you're not going to understand what another caregiver is going through. So get to, you know, just be able to talk to others, vent a little bit. I was working at a university in San Antonio before I went to Morningside. And we noticed that every morning when we get there and get a cup of coffee, we start hearing from one of the professors, especially whose mother had Alzheimer's. And she, do you know what my mother did last night? We found, it was smelling and we found food under the table or under her bed and she was hiding this or she was doing that or she tried to get out of the house. And so pretty soon other people started coming and started talking and sharing their stories. Pretty soon it became a support group. And we called ourselves the mamas and the papas because we were all dealing with a mother or a father who was having some issues and we were all caregivers. But it just kind of evolved. So again, seek support. There's great strength in knowing you are not alone. Information is empowering. And so that's a great segue into our videos with mmlearn.org. Again, we've got over 300 free online videos. And I'm going to show you a snippet or the size of one. This one is done by Dr. Liliana Oates. She's a geriatrician in San Antonio. This particular video is just going to be a part of it, but this one in particular, we've got in English and Spanish. And,
thanks, Joe.
So we'll let you pass on that.
What I wanted to start with is understanding why we're spending this time together. And it's no news to you to know that dementia is a disorder that is really tragic. And it's tragic because we think that in dementia we lose them twice. One time when they are changing so much in their process and they disappear, who they are, their personality, their ability to communicate. And the second time we lose them when they die finally from this disease or another complication. So we need to remember that it's a very tragic disease and it consumes a lot of resources, not only in the healthcare system, but emotionally. It drains the person caring for them and their family. Most people survive between 6 to 8 years. That's what we call an average, meaning the majority of people from point of diagnosis to when they die from the disease, will live with this disease close to 10 years. I have known personal families that have walked this journey for 20 years. And there are other type of dementias that can unfortunately end the life of a person sooner, like frontotemporal dementias, where usually these patients last only 2 years. So again, it can become a long journey. It's not a little short run, it's a marathon. And when people that run or exercise, or you see the marathon runners, you need to prepare for the journey. Caregiving is usually experienced as a rewarding experience despite of the stress and burden. And I think that that's very important for caregivers to know that despite of the challenges that happen, there is a sense of rewarding that we are doing what is the right thing to do. Even though we understand that sometimes as a duty, many of the caregivers will say, well, if I needed to do it, I will do it again because they were my parents, or this is my spouse, or even children. Some early dementias, we find parents taking care of younger children that are in their 50s that develop this horrendous disease. There are a lot of challenges, and the challenges are related with what I already mentioned, the losses and the accumulation of changes. And because the disease we will review today has many stages, and they change over time, and the caregivers and the family need to adapt to those changes, it's very challenging. We see a lot of in our family that what they were able to do in the earliest stages and try to maintain the dignity and the person involved in activities, suddenly with the decline in the disease, they cannot do it anymore, and that produces stress and anxiety in the family and the caregivers. The other key point is we're going to be reviewing today the amount of the skills that are needed to take care with somebody with dementia. And I hear my caregiver saying, Dr. Oaks, I love my mom, but love is not enough. But what we wanted to do with the series and Morningside Ministries and mmlearn.org is that you get equipped with important toolbox of strategies, ideas, and having work with other caregivers can empower you to have different strategies, because this long process and disease is going to require that you use different ones in different stages. So you can love your loved one with dementia, but if you are not equipped, you are not going to be able to take care of yourself and provide the best care for your loved one. So let us talk a little bit about the impact in caregiving. 80% of the care to older people with dementia are done by family. And what that means is that there is what we call informal caregiving, meaning it's unpaid, and it's costing between $150 to $175 billion per year. So there is a lot of situations where you are hearing today, or you are watching this production and saying, wow, I didn't realize this is so expensive, and everybody does it, but the impact economically in the system is huge. So the experiences of the caregivers are, I was listed in the slide, a variety of emotion. There is a sense of loss, emotional stress. There is much more healthcare problems in the caregivers. We know that up to 60% to 80% of caregivers at some point can develop anxiety, depression. Have you been there? Think about yourself. How are you feeling so many times when you needed to quit your job? Probably because nobody else took care of mom or dad or your sibling or a child with this disease, and then there is less income, and maybe with the economy, many children are coming back home, and then now you have an extended family that you didn't expect. So there is a lot of adjustments around this disease due to multiple reasons. There are decreased work hours, the lower wages. We, in my office, I sign a lot of family leave paperwork related with, well, mom is now getting sicker, she has dementia, I need to take her to the doctor, or they get hospitalized, they need to go to the hospital or the nursing home, and then suddenly they cannot work. So the impact economically is related with all of these issues. There is also loss of full-time work and the benefits including with that. So many caregivers are really stressed out because the economics of caring with somebody with dementia. And I think the point here is, now that we're transforming our health care, we need to look about ways to improve and support caregivers and find some common sense in how we're going to be economically taking care of each other, because the challenges are going to increase, not decrease. What are the benefits of having the family involved in the care of somebody with dementia? Definitely, we see that when families are involved in a patient with dementia, they don't end up in a nursing home. They stay longer in the house, especially when you have more children participating in the care or other providers or caregivers. And we're talking about caregiver as anyone that is providing direct personal care to somebody with dementia. So not necessarily I'm talking today about you as a Connect Blood family member, but it could be a provider paid by the state. It could be a provider that you are paying to a community-based organization to provide care. So caregiver it's a big word. So I'm talking today about you. If you are not related by blood with this person, but you are providing, bathing, changing, helping them the appointments, staying with them at home, even doing house chores. If you are paid by doing that, you are under the category of a caregiver. I wanted to clarify also that even though families are wonderful and it's the best scenario to care for older adults, sometimes it does not prevent to end up in a nursing home. And this is very important, especially for minority groups. We will do the same broadcast in Spanish later on that will be available for you. If you have family members or somebody that needs Spanish to talk about this issue, I will be doing it later on. But sometimes we have a lot of guilty feelings. I don't want mom or dad to be at the nursing home. I made the promise. Today I wanted that you reflect a little bit about trying to stay away from promises. Do your best. I know in my heart as a physician when I encounter families, everybody loves mom or dad, everybody wants them to stay home. But there are circumstances that you cannot foresee them, and will make you make decisions to place them because it's the right thing to do. A family with multiple little children or teenagers and children, a lot of economic issues at home, the elderly person with dementia is fighting a lot, is very confused, there is no peace in the house. This family maybe need to look at an option to place them in the best nursing home they can afford, or they can place their loved one. So promises, think about yourself. Where are you in that journey? And especially Latino community, we really tend to make a lot of promises that later on backfire to us, and the guilty feeling that we need to work together, and the physician in collaboration sometimes with psychologists is in a huge impact. So again, family is the ideal scenario for this multi-generational family that we wanted to encourage to have, because we find that there is a lot of benefits to having patients with dementia around their family and older children in different stages. But placement sometimes is the best thing to do. So I tell my families, never say never, because maybe you will need to walk through that journey at some point. I also wanted to tell you that even though if you place also your loved one, the stress doesn't go away. It just have a different face. It's like a cube. So the stress just changes the color. When we have one of those cubes that you change colors and organize, it just has a different face to it. And caregivers have a lot of stress and guilt feelings related with placement. And part of what we need to do is, it takes a whole village to work around those issues and to make you feel better, and you can continue being involved even though they are in the nursing home and trying to work things through that. So who makes up the caregivers? I know today we're going to be seeing men and women watching this broadcast, and what I wanted to tell you is 50 to 75% are women. Usually are related, they are the spouses, the daughters-in-law that have the most care one-to-one. But don't look in the other 30 to 40% that are also men. And we see more and more that men are becoming more caregivers. And that is wonderful, but it also poses some challenges, especially when the sons are the ones caring for their mom. And there is a lot of issues about privacy, intimacy, and the care of personal care that is very challenging when you are the son and you're dealing with the female needs of a spouse, or you are dealing with the intimacy or personal care of your mom. So we need to balance those issues, and you need to be equipped, and you need to surround yourself by other resources that can help you to address these issues that are real and vital in the care of that loved one. The majority of the caregivers usually are married, they are employed outside their home, and they are caring usually for both parents and their own children. That's what you hear very often called the sandwich generation. You're raising your children and you're taking care of your parents, and more and more we're seeing that in the world. This is not a problem only for United States. Aging population is changing the statistics around the world, and more these issues are common all over the planet. So what I was mentioning before is I wanted to make sure that we understand this as caregivers. We're going to be facing our own challenges in terms of healthcare problems. The fact that we're going to be caring for somebody with dementia is going to put you in a high risk of depression and anxiety. 6 times higher than a person that is your same age, your same sex, maybe same socioeconomic status, but they don't care for somebody with dementia. So you need to be in the guard. You need to be aware that you maybe are going to develop these symptoms, and don't dismiss them or disregard them, which is what I wanted that you pause for a second today and see. Do you find yourself fighting for little things? Are you lacking sleep? Do you wake up at night thinking and ruminating thoughts, thinking over and over about worry stuff? Do you don't want it to go out? Are you withdrawing your voice? You are not enjoying things that you used to enjoy before. You just don't care. Is your energy level very low? If any of those are yes, yes, yes in you today, right now, you are thinking, wow, I have a lot of those, you are developing some component of depression and anxiety. And I understand, especially, again, many minority groups, you don't want it to recognize that. You feel it's a stigma. I'm caring for my mom, so why I'm feeling depressed? I should be very happy. It's normal to develop these feelings because your role has changed. You didn't expect that this happen. You probably thought, you know, mom and dad raised me, I am becoming the parent. I am the one doing the care. And you feel it's unjust. All of those thoughts are normal part of your process of thinking and readjusting. So what I'm inviting you today is be aware that if you are developing these symptoms, this is part of the normal process of the caregiving, and we're going to talk later, we need to address them. You need to talk them out, and you need to seek for medical help. Sometimes we just need to talk about it, we need support groups, sometimes we need to rethink how we are managing our anger and getting equipped to deal with that, but sometimes we need medication. And today, from the bottom of my heart, medications are okay when they are needed. You shouldn't be afraid of opening your and expanding your own mind to know that if that's what you need to go and partner with your physician, and that will make you a better caregiver and a better partner, a better spouse, maybe you need to be on those. You also as a caregiver need to know that physically, due to the high levels of chemicals that we call adrenaline in your stress, you're going to be a higher risk for heart problems. Usually double than in people that are counterparts that don't care for people with dementia. Especially those cardiovascular risk factors are related with how long you are providing caregiving. So if you do caregiving over 9 hours a day, you are going to be flying constantly in high levels of anxiety, and that will affect your heart. Which reminds us that we are not only physical well-beings, we have our spiritual realm, we have our mind, our emotions, we have our relationships, and we cannot separate it. In this culture, unfortunately, we tend to fragment who we are. Here is what I do at home, these are my feelings, these are my emotions, my spirituality. Today, I wanted that we think that we are completely in a balance, and when one of those areas is out of balance, you are going to develop more anxiety, more depression, more anger. So how we recognize where we're feeling dry. So imagine a full glass, and unless a glass is full that can give and the water comes out of the glass, and you are feeling very dry and empty, you're not going to be able to give peace, love, caring, compassion when you yourself are feeling you're not getting any of those. So maybe you need to fill your cup in your spirituality, in your own sense of who you are, in your sense of well-being, your sense of what I'm doing here, your purpose, your relationship with God, with a transcendent being, with your sense of your value as a person. Maybe you need more time and your glass is empty because you have left behind everything and you enjoy. So you need to work in that cup and how to provide, and we later on are going to talk about a few strategies to
that intrigued you, if you like that, you can go on to mlearn.org and watch the rest of it. And as she mentioned, she did provide it in Spanish for us as well. So it's on mlearn.org. Again, we provide over 300 free online videos for folks. And one of the things that, although most of our work is online, there are a few things that we do on site. And one of them is coming up, the opportunity, and we've collaborated with Patty here, is to provide the virtual dementia tour. Anybody here gone through the virtual dementia tour? It's a 7 to 8 minute experience of walking in the shoes of someone that has Alzheimer's. It's a powerful experience, especially if you're caring for someone with dementia, with Alzheimer's. You go in and you come out a different person. So I encourage you to pick up a flyer. It is going to be at the Country Place Living on Thursday, July 24th. And we'll be there all day, so you can just stop by. Last time we had it, Dottie, would you like to say a few words about it?
Well, we did. We had over 50 people, I think, that went through, and it's really interesting. I know that Virginia usually does the post-conference with them, but the comments that we receive they definitely are, they have so much more understanding of what individuals are going through. So, I mean, it had a definite impact on me. Just those little things that, and I think that's been mentioned, I think Jenny mentioned that too, about, repeating things, that kind of thing. It just makes you realize that, yeah, they, even though they're asking you the same question over and over, each time they ask it, it's new to them. So it's interesting.
I think one of the things that I took from that day was that we had a group from the bank, and even the bank president came. And what we kept hearing over and over was, why would a bank want their employees to come and go through it? So many of the tellers that went through it told us, we have the same customers coming in over and over again, almost every day, and taking out money, depositing money, or taking it out, constantly. And so it was wonderful for them to actually understand what was going on with them. But also, so many of them had parents or grandparents at home who were dealing with the disease. So, I mean, it wasn't uncommon to have some shed some tears, or mostly because thinking, why? I didn't understand this before. And I thought they were doing it on purpose. So a lot of that. So I encourage you, if you haven't gone through it, to please pick up a flyer and mark your calendars for it. Does anyone have any questions for me? I still have some videos. We do have, although all our videos are online and free, I do have some DVDs of several of our videos that you're welcome to take, also packets of information for you. Again, I encourage you to go to mlearn.org and just take advantage of all the free videos that we have for you. Okay? Thank you very much.